Caliyah McNabb, was just 15 days old when she died after being savagely beaten by her parents, who were under the influence of crystal meth. Caliyah, who was born prematurely on September 23, 2017, was missing from their home in Eagle Ridge Mobile Home Park. October 7, the day after the fatal attack, the parents reported her missing, claiming kidnappers had taken their daughter as they slept.
How old is she, ma'am?
2 weeks old.
Okay. Who else would have come in your house?
I mean, as far as I know, nobody would have came in my house.
Okay.
My dad's on the way to his house.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. How long have you been asleep?
the last time I woke up with her was around, I guess 5 maybe.
Okay. So you were asleep till 5 o'clock?
Yes. I didn't even need to fall asleep on the couch and sit down for a minute after dealing with her all night.
Entry, or can you tell if someone's been there?
Sheriff's office.
Yes. Okay. I fell asleep right here. My husband fell asleep. Well, he's not my husband, he's my baby's father. My husband fell asleep right there. My child, my 2-year-old was back here at the top of it. My baby was asleep in her sleeper. Last time I woke up with her was around 5. Her package on the floor, her and her blanket's gone. I looked everywhere. My 2-year-old came and said she's gone.
Where was your 2-year-old sleeping?
Right there.
Right here?
Yes. I looked all in his clothes. I don't know where else to look.
And who would have possibly come and got her?
No one. I called my grandparents. I called my dad. I called anybody that would have came and got her. He went around the park to look for her. There's my cousin. I don't know where else. What else?
1 month.
She's 2 weeks old. Yes. I don't know where else to look.
Well, it's not like couldn't have got up and walked
I don't know
away.
where else to look.
I thought Amy had, the child's father not looking for the child.
Yes.
She's walking or
He's walking.
okay.
Not sorry. Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe she got. But she does pick her up and tow her places. That's
Who?
my 2-year-old.
Who does?
My 2-year-old. I ran him.
You start looking,
We're checking the house.
I've been looking for maybe 20 minutes. She called me all day.
Was she crying or anything prior to
I
that?
haven't heard her. No.
Any kind of medical issues she was having? Complications?
No complications. Perfect. She's 5 pounds.
5 pounds? Was she premature?
I went to the doctor yesterday. don't know where else to look. Caliyah!
That's negative. That's negative. Come walking down. Come walking down. Okay. You know what the job might be? That's right. Big one goes down. So you just walk.
I left here, my baby's mom could tell you. I left here by myself a while ago.
The child here last night.
The child was here. I
Where
said
you
here.
been for the last 2 days? There was somebody else.
Yes, sir.
Probably else.
No, sir. They brought her and my sister.
No, that was 21. Right after you handle that, there's no more.
Okay.
I didn't see her.
That's just my name on your top,
You
right?
can ask my baby's mom. We woke up.
I'm asking you.
I need some later now. I ain't got no love.
You're not going to come on the stand up.
Seems like everybody else has got some money.
You need
I
somebody?
mean, the first thing that I heard this morning when she saw her papa and told her papa about it was, where's that boy at? Where's that boy at? I'm always the person who gets blamed for everything. That's my kid. That's my child. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the child is.
I'm more worried about that baby than everybody except her.
Okay. The child's been with another relative for the last couple of days, right?
My dad and my grandparents.
Been with them
Yeah, they
until
can't
last
touch her without
night.
permission from her cousin's house.
But then I called the police to my friend's house where we went. And Officer Bartlett said to, instead of involving these guys, to let the 2-year-old
What
back.
address is that, do you know?
1873 Woodlawn, maybe. I think that's the right digit, I'm not sure.
1737.
Uh,
Woodlawn Road.
1837?
Woodlawn Road.
That's not the address.
And then Officer Bartlett told us instead of involving these guys, to let my 2-year-old go to my dad's house for a couple days and just to let it all blow over.
When did this happen? Tuesday?
Christopher Michael McNabb and Courtney Marie Bell lived in a trailer park in Covington, 40 miles south of Atlanta, Georgia. They touched off a frantic search for the newborn in October 2017, with McNabb publicly pleading for his daughter's safe return. But little Caliyah was already dead. Her tiny body was found the following day near her Newton County mobile home. She was wrapped in clothing and placed in a blue and red Nike backpack. which the couple said was stolen on October 7, 2017. An autopsy determined she died from blunt force trauma to the head. In the death of her 15-day-old daughter in October, Courtney Bell, 24, was arrested on a grand jury indictment for second-degree murder. Christopher McNabb, 27, was arrested and charged with murder after trying to flee when Caliyah's body was discovered.
If you'll hand it to the bailiff seated right here, he'll bring it to me and I'll publish it in open court. Each verdict form reads, in each of the counts against each defendant, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. That's all 3 counts against Ms. Bell and all 8 counts against Mr. McNabb.
Since I'm pretty sure by the law states that I have a right to confront my witnesses who accuse me of doing wrong, so I felt like I wanted to say it in front of her since she was the one up here slandering me. And that's all I got to say.
You sure you don't want to talk about the sentencing and all of that? That was the only thing you wanted to tell the court?
I mean, I haven't heard anything about a sentence. I was just commenting on that. I understand
the charges. And I just wanted to know if you had anything you wanted to say to the court.
I mean, I got a lot to say. I got a lot to say, but I'm not going to be able to say half of it.
I don't know, because I don't know what you're going to say.
I'm innocent. I didn't do it.
Okay.
I've maintained that the whole time. I feel like there was things that were allowed to be said that should have never been allowed to be said and didn't have nothing whatsoever to do with the case and what was being said. Just because somebody has domestic abuse issues with their spouse doesn't mean that they would put their hands on their kids, which has also been pretty much proved that I've never touched my kids in any harmful manner whatsoever. I've never harmed my kids. I didn't even hear anything that said that I had done anything to her in front of the kids. So that doesn't make sense either. And, you know, just to let the record show that I don't think I ever put my hands on her in front of those kids. And I just don't feel like just because somebody has domestic issues with the female in their life that they love, that they were just able to just say, oh, he don't love you and all that stuff just in front of everybody or whatever, which doesn't matter. But I just don't understand how you find somebody guilty of doing something to a 15-day-old baby, because there was no evidence whatsoever that proved anything about me putting my hands on my kids. I've never done it. I never would. I don't believe in it. I was beat as a child, and I don't agree with it at all. And I would never do it. I would never do this. That's all I got to say. I would never do it. I'm innocent.
Well, I can make a lot of comments on what you said. I can make a lot of comments on the trial, but I know that was just be arguing with you or talking with you. I'll ask you one simple question. You claim you're innocent, so you tell me what sentence the man or woman that you claim did this should receive.
If you ever find out who did them, they deserve to be under the jail.
Okay. So they ought to get the maximum sentence.
Most definitely.
Okay. On the crime of malice murder, I sentence you to life in confinement without parole. On concealing the death of another, I sentence you to 10 years in confinement, consecutive or after. Count 1. Do you understand each of your sentences?
Yes, sir.
I want to advise you that you have 30 days after today to file a notice of appeal.
It'll be filed
on this case. I'm going to instruct Mr. Carter on behalf of you to file a motion for a new trial to make sure your rights are protected. If you wish to allege that Mr. Carter did not do an effective job, then we'll bring in another attorney to handle the appeal so that issue can be raised, and that's fine with Mr. Carter. He takes no offense.
I think he did an incredible job.
Well, that's fine. I'm just indicating to you that in order to claim your attorney at trial was ineffective or did not do a good job, you have to raise it at the earliest moment, which would be here.
I won't be filing anything against my attorney.
That's fine. I also want to inform you that if the case is appealed, if the Supreme Court of Georgia affirms your case, you have 4 years from that date. The affirmation is made in what they call a remediator. The case is sent back down here to file what is known as a writ of habeas corpus, claiming that your body is still being held illegally and unconstitutional. It has to be done within 4 years of that date. 4 years and 1 day, they would not listen to it. So do you understand?
I would just like to state that Ms. Bell's crimes, as found by the jury to be guilty, were more of her being a willing victim, and that spilled over into what happened as to her children. It's terrible, and it's extremely sad that that happened. But I don't think that, and obviously she was not charged to the level that Mr. McNabb was, and I would just ask the court to take those factors. She didn't have the opportunity of having an upbringing, as I think I discussed in my closing. She had no role models for that. She was suffering from addiction and abuse, and should she have done something? Yes, she should have. She didn't, and that's what led her here. And but I think that there's through courses, coping mechanisms, things that she might learn through prison classes and afterwards, there would certainly be the possibility of her being someone who could be a productive member of society if she were to embrace some of those things and put them to use in her life. So we would ask the court to take those into consideration. Thank you.
Does your client wish to make any statements?
I didn't do this.
Stand up, stand up.
Y'all know I didn't do this.
Miss Bell, you and I had a conversation
We did.
back in chambers on Wednesday, remember, morning? And at the time I told you there's a difference between the reality of the situation and what you think. I explained to you exactly why you were being charged with the crimes. It wasn't that you knew about the murder, it wasn't that you anticipated the murder, it wasn't that you planned the murder, any of those things. It was simply that you created an environment that caused your children to be put second and Mr. McNabb to be put first. As the state said in their closing, and they used the example of a rattlesnake being thrown into a room and the child being put into there. Well, your whole claim is, I took him back because I wanted to have a family. In that analogy the state used, it's just kind of like saying, your child's dead from a rattlesnake bite. Why would you put it in there? And you responded, well, I just wanted her to enjoy nature, have an appreciation of the outdoors, without appreciating the danger. Now, I'm sorry, but for you to go around chasing McNabb, doing meth, flies in the face of what any normal mother would do. We hear stories out in society, I mean, out everywhere. The mother bear, they're so ferocious. Why? Because you're messing with their child. All those kind of things. And you chose methamphetamine and McNabb over a baby.
It's a sickness, but I tried to be a good mama. I love my babies.
The problem, Miss McNabb, is that, like most criminals, you have this version of what a good mama is that is so far from the norm that, you know, you go anywhere in this county, talk to anybody who's watching this and say, is it a good mama who doesn't even care about her 14-year-old baby? Put them with a cousin. I've known of instances where mamas won't even let in the first couple of weeks of a child's life people around the child for fear that the child's immune system hadn't been built up and they don't want germs brought into the child. They go to that extent. You went just the exact opposite direction. And there's just no excuse for that. On count, well, let's talk about this. Count 2 merges with count 1.
Yes, Judge.
What's the thought about count 3?
I think it's fine, Judge. It does not merge.
Okay. On count 1, I'm going to sentence you with 30 years, with the first 15 years to be served in confinement in the state penitentiary, the remaining time on probation. On count 3, I'm going to sentence you to 10 years in confinement and run at the same time as count 1. Now, do you understand your 2 sentences? Let the record reflect she's nodding her head slightly yes. And Ms. Bell, I'm going to give you the following rights that you have. Within 30 days, you have a right to appeal this case to the appellate level. You may start that process with a motion for new trial, which I'm going to direct the attorneys to file, just that skeleton general motion.
Yes, sir.
If at the time you decide, Ms. Bell, you can allege that your attorneys did an ineffective job, they just didn't do a good job. It has to be brought up at its earliest moment. The attorneys do not get their feelings hurt if you choose to do that, and we would appoint a conflict attorney to come in and take over the appeal. Do you understand me clearly about that? I need you to stand up first off. I need you to start verbalizing.
I understand.
Okay, because she's making a record on all this. It all has to be taken down. I'm also going to advise you that if the case is appealed to the appellate level and the appellate level affirms that case in the verdict and sends it back down for the service of the sentence, you have 4 years from the date it comes back down to file what is known as a writ of habeas corpus. That means I'm being illegally detained unconstitutionally, and I want my body out of jail. But it has to be done. It's a time-sensitive thing, and you only have 4 years to do that. You understand that clearly?
Yes, sir.
Now, do you have any other questions? Okay, take her on